Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in, Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. As we roll into our Friday, guess what? It's Friday, and we're back together. Bobbi and Buddy, good to have you guys back.
Always good to be here.
Great to be here.
In studio, summertime is a little bit rough and challenging with all of our different schedules going on, but we have a lot of good information for you over the next several weeks, so be sure to tune in and stay educated, reradiolive.com. Before we jump into our topic today, just a reminder, if you have any need for consultation on buying, selling a home, we were just talking about how difficult it is in a market where there's low inventory, and quite frankly, there's a lot of people spending a lot of money on homes. So find someone that could represent you and represent you well. That's Bobbi Decker. If you need some help in home buying, or you need your home to be listed, or maybe you just need some advice to be talked off the cliff one way or every once in a while.
Yes.
650-346-5352. You get a text or call, or you could visit the website, and that is bobbidecker.com, BOBBIDECKER.com. On the finance side, if I could help you with any purchase, refinance, or maybe, again, you just need to find out what you could be approved for. That's really important, by the way. Don't go out spending a bunch of time and energy if you don't know what you could afford. I could help you with that, 408-838-9060, or you could always email me, joe@reradiolive.com. All right, the topic today, sight unseen home buying. That's right, sight unseen home buying. You might be thinking, what in the world is that? You might know if you're in the Bay Area and you're used to this crazy market. This is an unusual title, we know, but so Bobbi, tell us what you mean by this, because you are the, what would we say, the creator of this? The architect, maybe? The artist?
Yeah, she's kind of in the middle of it. We've done some
am.
almost semi-sight unseens.
We have. But this particular one I pulled from the Wall Street Journal. I always love to see, you know, something that's in writing with a good paper, reputable paper, and that reinforces what we kind of do. And one of my favorite reads is their mansion section, and it comes out every Friday. You know, so last Friday, what pops up but an article, and it's called Sight Unseen Home Buying. And it's because, do you know the kind of confidence you have to have in order to really, really take and trust your agent and have them do this for you? Here it is, a sight unseen property. You're going to buy it. So there has to be a real relationship. And I was teaching that international. We tend to be very low content in the United States, which means, you know, just do it. You know, write the contract. Let's get it done. Bye-bye. Everybody's gone. Well, a lot of cultures aren't. No. And they need to trust. And this is where this whole element, people go, how can you be so busy right now, Bobbi? I mean, there's no inventory. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, I'm lucky because 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I sold people houses.
Well,
and
you
guess
actually
what?
represent them
They're
well,
listing them
that's right.
with me now because they're
right.
too big or too small or not geographically desirable, whatever. So virtual
and they give
reality.
You a high level of trust.
Yes, virtual reality has really kicked this whole process in, and some of the other technologies. But, Buddy, you use something as simple as voice-over video, and what tremendous results.
What do you mean simple? It was well scripted.
See, I knew you would
well
use
scripted.
me. The producer is
That's
speaking.
right. That's
the
right.
producer
Do you know
directed
how hard it is
the
to get those doors to open properly?
That he needed to do, and
magically,
and met with the
Do you
architect
think these
for
things
hours
happen
and
by
hours.
themselves?
No,
right?
they don't. They don't. Sometimes it takes a very creative person to make sure they come off. But the end result was spectacular. So here's
you were brilliant. I'm going to give you your just dues.
All right,
you were brilliant.
Thank you. So
cue the deer.
Yeah. All right, cue the deer. You want to tell them the deer story?
No, we'll cue the deer another time. You can tell them about.
So this is a beautiful house. It was actually on the market by another realtor for 280 days. We stepped in. We did a lot of beautiful work to make sure the property was set appropriately for the marketplace. And then we did a great video that talked about, in detail, all the accoutrements of this beautiful property in Hillsborough, California. The video was viewed by a gentleman in Bangkok, Thailand. He showed it to all his friends and family, had kind of pre-buy-in, and he came over. And the day he came over, he bought the property, and he said, I just wanted to make sure the video didn't miss anything. I just wanted to make sure the video didn't miss anything. Talk about pre-selling,
right.
Semi-sight unseen,
right.
But it became sight seen by an extensive video that told the whole story. So that's where I'm going with my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's an amazing story, actually, now that Buddy talks about that. There's a couple of other stories like this in a home in the Bronx, New York, where an agent used FaceTime to walk through the property for the client while on the iPhone with the client. Some people might say, well, this is kind of interesting, but again, here we are, our 10-year anniversary with iPhone. Look how it's being used. The buyer bought the home for around $1.2 million, just based on walking around with a FaceTime tour. Now, this is innovating, either to live or sell. And so the question is, some people might say, who's crazy enough to do that, right? But is it not the world we live in?
It's a global industry these days. And Bobby's teaching the CIPS course, and people are flocking to it because where are you going to make your future investments? You don't want to – buying here to make a short-term investment is hard to do because you're going to pay top dollar no matter what it is. And you're not going to flip it in an instant unless you got a lot of money to come in and you're willing to take the time and money and put the property you just sold. Bobby, take probably $1 million to bring it up to par. So you better be pretty well off, and you had to pay a substantial several million to get it. So you got to look around the world, see what's going on around the world. A lot of people are really starting to think more and more about that.
Well, this I don't want to take us off too much off script, but I think it's valid to talk about just for a minute, you guys, that the technology is changing. We know it. A lot of people fight it. We talked about it. A lot of people don't even want to do video. Many people don't do what Bobby does in terms of the education, the technology, the use of marketing, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're a client out there looking to represent, or you're an international buyer, wouldn't that be something you're going to ask an agent when you talk to them?
Absolutely.
What is your use of technology? How am I going to have my clients over here in Hong Kong or Tokyo or wherever? What can you guys do for me to enhance my visual experience 10,000 miles away?
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's a good question these days, isn't it?
It's a very solid question. There's a couple of others, too. How do you know about doing international business effectively?
Right.
That's why Bobby's CIPS course is so important for realtors, particularly here in the Bay Area.
But I have to tell you, and Joe, you know this too, because we deal with agents either, I'm the listing agent, so I'm dealing with buyer agents, and you're a lender, you deal with all kinds of agents, and it's very disconcerting to have people not want to get any designations. They don't want to invest in their properties,
education.
Or the ones they list.
Yeah.
They don't want to get virtual tours for the properties because it costs money. They don't want to do this. It's like, why hire them? I mean, the one question you shouldn't be bothered even asking is just, what is your commission?
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Ask, what is your value add?
Exactly.
Show me on a piece of paper the value you're going to bring to my transaction. And then you can discuss, if they look like they're not going to do anything, you can then discuss.
The do-nothings may cost you $50,000
no one does. I have
more.
a value add page, Joe.
Well, no, and I've said this before, and I know a lot of realtors probably don't want to hear it, but it is the reality. It's the truth, and part of the thing we're committed to on this show is education and information. And it goes the same for my business, lending. There's less than 10% of people that treat this like a business on both sides.
Absolutely.
And so if you're out there and a consumer listening to this podcast, make sure that you associate yourself with those people. I'm sorry if some people don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. You owe it to yourself, right?
Well,
we just talked about
the bait and switch you just went through.
Mm-hmm.
And the client really got nailed at the end because they didn't trust. Got to trust. And it's, gosh, this online stuff makes me crazy. But here's my question for you. We were just saying that this $1.2 million thing in Bronxville, New York was purchased sight unseen. And he said he didn't know if he was going to renovate it and flip it or if he was going to live in it. Are a lot of people coming to you and saying they're going to live in it, Joe, just to get better financing? And how do you work with that? I mean, that's actually lying. Yep. Anybody who thinks it's not is hello.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, when someone, we have this happen from time to time, someone will say, well, Joe, I want to buy this home, and I'll ask, we'll start asking questions, and they really want to try to buy it as an investment property, but they're trying to get owner-occupied financing on it. And I won't pull any strings on that one. I'll just be straight up honest with them and say it either isn't or isn't. I mean, you technically can't have more than one primary residence. You can have a bunch of second homes. You can have a bunch of non-owner occupied homes. This, where again, is representing someone right ethically and make sure they have all the details, make sure they have the information. Financing is the most critical part of the transaction. Now, again, some people won't understand it or maybe will disagree, but think about it, you guys. Bobby, you've been doing this a long time. Mm-hmm. Buddy, you've been representing and working alongside. What is typically, if something goes wrong in a transaction, what goes wrong? Something to do with the finance.
The financing.
The money.
Once you guys get in the contract, once Bobby gets someone in the contract, other than walking them through, keeping them updated, communicating with them along the way, very rarely are you going to have a problem with that contract or what you did to get them in contract.
Absolutely.
Right? The problem is going to come from lending.
It's always the financing. and that's the TRID, the reason we drink.
That's right. So the message, again, as we move along here, please be very smart and educated, I'll say, before you work with someone that you trust, get pre-approved, make sure your financing's in place. It's going to cause a lot less problems going in, even under the best circumstances. And I mean this sincerely because, let's just say you do everything you're supposed to do. You did everything you're supposed to do. There could still be little things that come up during the transaction. So it's just really important. I can't stress enough. Make sure you get it done. Make sure before you go shopping you get your pre-approval and make sure it's valid.
Mm-hmm. So, and we can cover a whole bunch of stuff about this on our little second section.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're talking about sight unseen home buying. That's right, you heard it right, sight unseen home buying. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, sitting right next to Bobbi and Buddy. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Bobbi Decker is a recognized veteran of the real estate industry with 30 years of assisting clients to buy and sell property. Educating the public through her television programs, radio interviews, web streaming, websites, and newspaper articles helps people gain valuable knowledge that makes them better suited to accomplish their home ownership or sales goals. Ms. Decker is a vice president at today's Sotheby's International Realty, part of the global family. With 660 offices in 47 countries, she provides extensive marketing resources and services to her clients that have a wide set of needs, from selling properties on the San Francisco Mid-Peninsula and Silicon Valley to trophy ranches and vacation properties in the Sierra Foothills. When clients have needs in other parts of America or the world, she can refer them to other Sotheby's International Realty or Sotheby's Auction House locations. Contact Bobbi at BobbiDecker.com. That's BobbiDecker.com. Or call 650-346-5352.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, as we continue through our topic today, sitting alongside Bobbi and Buddy. The topic is sight unseen home buying. These are some of the things that are going on in our business today, our industry today, and our focus and objective has always been, 7 years running now, is to keep you educated as a consumer, and I'll say it again, our job is to hopefully make you better educated and informed. We don't want you to be the experts. We feel like we're the experts in that area. So we want to hopefully get you informed so that you make good decisions on who you hire.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? And talking about
Absolutely.
that, we were talking about trust before.
Yep.
That's kind of a very malleable thing. It's hard to say what is trust made up of. First and foremost, trust can be made up of by really reviewing the facts. Get some information. When I came out of the high-tech industry and stepped into the real estate industry, I was really aghast at the idea of some people who would select people that just didn't really have the full interest of their client in mind. That was just amazing. And these are big dollars in a lot of people's lives. So trust is part of the picture, but you can build trust most effectively by getting to know the people like Joe and Bobbi that have a real sincere business here, not just, oh my gosh, it's a part-time deal. But let's go past that and let's get back on topic. The standpoint of today, we can do more things. We just told you a story about a video that sold a $4.7 million home. FaceTime, all the technology that's starting to roll out, Skype, all those things can do a whole lot of new ways of helping people to understand where the properties and the opportunities are, and maybe don't have to spend quite as much time and energy traveling around to get a real good handle on what's out there and what they may be most interested in. Joe, you talked about it, and we talked about it with Bobbi. We're in a global world, a global industry now, that people are buying all over the world. And a lot of people are coming to the United States because we have some of the best laws to protect people's property rights.
Exactly. And then I can't tell you how great the response was on our listings that we took over. We took over 3 or 4 that had been on market before, had expired out. The agent hadn't done a whole lot, and we did. We just jumped in with those virtual tours, all the high ends, the voiceovers. That's all a cost to the agent. I don't ask the clients to absorb that, but you know what? It gets results. And within 3 to 6 weeks on all of these, and that's another thing. If somebody tells you that they're doing all this business, just ask to see the MLS printout, because that's how I prove it. There are a couple of people who say that they list and sell a lot of the stuff in our complex, and I've decided I'm not going to even argue that point. I just bring the MLS printout, and when you see Bobbi kind of get sick of it, but it proves my point. So you just need to get the property out there and exposed to the general public.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this is amazing how FaceTime, WhatsApp, Skype, all these things are changing what we do in real estate and other facts of life, but we're specifically talking about real estate today. Even 3D videos are all the rage at this point. Buddy, I know you think, what do you think of 3D? And also, 10% of all Sotheby's tours now are 3D, is that correct?
Yes. We're people are grabbing a hold of that because it's kind of fun. It gives you that very kind of in-place experience. You feel like you're there, and you can look around the room. That's all bubbling up very, very quickly. All these technologies are really starting to drive the business in a kind of a new way. And if you're not in tune with these technologies, you're going to be falling behind. So there's another story. Okay, it's in the Wall Street Journal
story
about the guy's on a passenger seat on a motorcycle, FaceTiming.
I love it.
And he winds up taking a tour with the FaceTime of a property and buys it while he's on the motorcycle for $1.6 million. Now, this is starting to get a little scary when you think about it. We talked about a $4.7 million, 1.6. Joe, you talked about a 1.2. Look what technology is doing, ladies and gentlemen. And so if you're a seller, you make sure that whoever is working with you brings all the technology to the table to make sure that you've got a the widest possible audience.
Were you driving that motorcycle? Was he on the back
that
of your
was
motorcycle?
me. My purple Harley.
Okay.
The one that what's his name gave Liz Taylor. I went and bid on that one. I always wanted a purple Harley. Okay. I have to tell you though, can you imagine that is so creative, Joe?
Yeah.
He was not on the.
I love it.
By the way, he was not on the motorcycle driving and FaceTiming. There was somebody in the passenger
he was in the back.
Exactly. Yep. And he took it and he was sending it to his client because his client goes, "I love the house. I want to see the neighborhood." And he didn't want to lose a lot of time because in this hot market, you can't lose a lot of time. You can't wait for them to come home from their vacation. You've got to get it going. So anyway, I love the fact that people are getting so creative like this. Please stay safe while you're being creative. I understand fearlessness,
Back of a motorcycle.
but hey, some of them are pretty comfy. They look it. Never been on one, but they certainly look it. But see, they had gone and they had not really seen this particular neighborhood. They had an idea of the whole community, and so they just wanted to make sure that there were no gas stations close by, that kind of thing. So you can do that.
Well, let me throw one more little piece of technology in that I don't think we saw a lot of in that article. These drones.
Oh yeah.
You want to get an idea what's around the property? Send that drone up a few hundred feet, and you can really get a sense of what the neighborhood's all about and what it's close to. Very, very kind of effective if you really want to get a sense of how close the schools are, how close the shopping is, how close everything is. You can do a number of things with drones that people didn't even think about 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, it was my savior on a listing I just recently sold, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, and it closes on Wednesday. But the drone saved us, Joe, because there was nothing really to photograph within the house because the house had been abused for a number of years, so you couldn't make it look pretty. You know, it's one of those. It was the land value, and basically maybe the architecture. It was a ranch style, but it went out like in a V kind of shape, as opposed to a home that is just all in one line. Right. But anyway, they could see the little house that was separate from it and everything, and that's what I used, the drone. We just did. It cost extra, but guess what? People could get an idea of the property
right away.
Well, I know some of the listeners are probably listening to this going, are you kidding me? People are buying homes riding on the back of a motorcycle or from Hong Kong on a FaceTime and all this, but it's true. I mean, some of the statistics will bear it out. Redfin did a survey, over 1,300 recent home buyers in 11 cities, and 33% said they made an offer sight unseen.
Wow, that's
guys,
a big number.
33% is a big number.
That's a big number.
Isn't that huge?
Yeah, and so this should be another, I guess, signal and wake-up call to everybody out there. For those that thought newspapers would never go away, people just want to touch and fill newspapers. For those that thought that books would never go away, I understand. I like to touch and fill a book too, but guess what? As time goes on, we're not only more effective, cost-effective, but ecologically we're trying to do what's right? Save paper, save trees, all these types of things. We just had Amazon buy Whole Foods, huge distribution centers. What's that going to mean? I guess my point is, if you think that technology and evolution is not going to affect real estate, you're wrong. It is. It may be a little slower because it's a big emotional decision in some cases, but it will, and it is affecting it.
Yeah, and with the timetable on currently in the Silicon Valley market, you don't have a lot of time to say, okay, I want to dream about this for a day or two. Sorry, it's gone.
Well, and not to say, Sotheby's, but they are on the leading edge,
yes,
Joe. They've got 5% of the offices have virtual reality viewing areas for the clients so that they can see 3D property photos on a screen while wearing the virtual reality headsets. Now, it's very, very cool. And they expect within 5 years to have one in every single office. But you've got to have forward-thinking people in order to lead and not have the people run over you. You've got to lead the horses. The horses can't run over you.
Right. Well, and what about the company known as Virtual App, right? You're talking a little bit of that, Bobby. I understand that as a robot and films the property in 3D, they can produce these videos in 15 minutes. Is that right? I mean,
it's amazing. But these things don't come for free.
Right.
So you've really got to have the people that are willing to do the right kind of marketing to make sure that you get this kind of quality and connection to share with your prospective clients around the planet. So it's $1 a square foot, so a 3,000 square foot home. That's $3,000, but the video that sold that $4.7 million house was a $5,000 video because all the things that went into it, bring your drone, bring your boom, bring your gyro so we can walk upstairs without, making it look beautiful. So all that stuff adds up. But look at the distinctions it provides. 3 days, 5 days on the market because the drone told the whole story. And in Silicon Valley, 5 days on the market, $2.something million. Wow.
It's an investment, Joe. You invest in your classes and your designations. I invest in mine. Buddy invests in knowing the best marketing and the fun. He's got the funnest job, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he does. And actually, what we're doing here today,
we're the dregs.
That's right. What we're doing here today, and I'm not trying to pat us all on the back, but it's true. The fact that over the last 7 years we've committed to radio, communication, podcasting in a form of doing what? Giving back to the consumers, educating and informing them, not to be experts, but really help them making wise decisions.
Yeah, not only the consumers, but our industry.
That's a good point.
I mean, people within our industry need to be sensitive to these things. This is almost a tutorial on what you need to start to think about or be engaged in already because things are moving so quickly. We talked about video. One little more quick note here.
Yep.
You better get on video because live streaming is coming on so rapidly.
That's right.
That you better be ready. And you're not going to be ready unless you've done some video and comfortable in front of the camera and know what to do to talk live broadcast around the world.
Now on Facebook and everything.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. So you're already behind the curve if you haven't started to at least do video.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're running out of time. This is a great topic. For more information, you could always go to reradiolive.com. Thanks again for checking in today. We love those reviews, remember, for Bobbi and Buddy. Thanks again. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.